Robert, thank you. Now, there have been decades of complaints about environmental racism in some of LA's black and brown communities. Those complaints now leading to a new study by LA County on the health impact of the Inglewood oil field.
Our NBC4i team has been covering oil fields and their proximity to residents for many months, and consumer investigator Randy Mack tonight has more on this.
Whether hidden behind structures made to look like buildings along Pico Avenue or in plain sight near Inglewood, currently California has no rule or standard for the distance that active oil wells need to be from populated areas, though many studies have concluded that proximity to oil well emissions are linked to respiratory illness and even cancer.
One thing that has always been difficult when it comes to analyzing health outcomes to something like an oil field or any other kind of local industry is trying to define what the exposure is and trying to link that to potential adverse health outcomes.
Dr. Cyrus Rangan with the LA Department of Public Health says the study, which will be conducted by UCLA researchers, should clearly define the health impact for people living next to these wells. The study is in response to years of complaints from residents in Baldwin Hills, View Park, Windsor Hills, Ladera Heights, and Culver City about whether the wells violate community-established environmental standards.
There are setbacks in states like Colorado between how close you can live or work to an oil well. We don't have that in California.
President of the consumer watchdog group, Jamie Court, has joined environmental and neighborhood activists lobbying Governor Newsom to draft a rule that mandates a setback for any new oil wells in the state from populated areas. Court says the governor has already missed winter and spring deadlines to make a decision.
We are expecting a rule that says you cannot put an oil well within 2,500 feet of a school, a home, of a human community.
Communities closest to these oil fields are mostly black and Latino. Residents complain it's no coincidence their neighborhoods are littered with active oil wells.
The Inglewood oil field in Los Angeles County is the largest urban oil field of its kind in the nation.
There's absolutely tremendous amount of racism involved in this. They've totally disguised the wells in Beverly Hills and well-off areas because the residents there, they feel, would complain and not stand for it. And yet, when you go a little south, they're in plain sight.
Culver City isn't waiting on the study or Governor Newsom. It's part of the Inglewood oil field community, and its city council passed an ordinance last week to phase out oil wells within its city boundary over the next 5 years. LA City Council also has a motion to adopt its own setback distance, and LA County is investigating the issue. The study itself could take up to 18 months to complete. Now, the Western States Petroleum Association says that it is not opposed to having some setbacks. They just want the distance of wells to populated areas to be based on facts and not politics. They also say they want considerations given to energy production and jobs. But certainly, accountability and responsibility will come into play should the study show that there's an actual correlation between health and those oil wells. In Chino Hills, I'm Randy Mack for NBC4 News.